All right, what a great pleasure this is. An absolute honor to be talking to the reigning, defending WWE Universal Champion, the man who'll be headlining SummerSlam. It will air live on BT Sport Box Office. He is the tribal chief. He is the head of the table. He's the one and only Roman Reigns, who, of course, goes up against John Cena in a very much anticipated matchup this Saturday for the aforementioned Universal title. Thank you so much for the time, Roman. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
It's good to talk to you again. And, the last time we spoke, and the first time that I spoke to you was right before WrestleMania. The big story, of course, going into that event was the return of the fans. And I'm wondering if, a lot of people are wondering, okay, how are the fans going to react to you? How are they going to engage with you and whatnot? Here we are, some 4.5 months removed from then. How do you feel like the fans have been since they came back? Of course, they came back in earnest in July, but for the last few weeks, your relationship with the fans, the way they've reacted to you, was it what you expected? Has it surprised you at all? What's been your impression?
Um, I think it's pretty much been on point of what I thought it would be. It's not. So it was always kind of a mixed reaction, right? And depending on where we were and what kind of event it was, it could go, either in a negative, way or a positive way. So I think we've really kept that negative, loud dislike for what I'm doing, from a character standpoint. But then we also have those fans who are just supportive Roman Reigns fans who are going to be with me no matter what. And then I think we also have a large group of fans who possibly were naysayers that have respected the performance and the grind that I've been on for the past year or so. But it's been what we have hoped for sure.
Okay. SummerSlam represents, in my opinion, somewhat of an anniversary for you because, of course, it was last year's SummerSlam where you returned from the hiatus. Had we talked a couple of weeks before that event, and perhaps I told you that I looked into a crystal ball and the year was going to play out like this, in terms of your evolution, your popularity, the work that you've done, it will culminate with a match against a legend like John Cena. Did you kind of expect this? Was this the blueprint, if you will, or have things surprised you along the way over the past year?
You don't really know exactly how it's going to go, right? But I definitely pictured progression. I definitely pictured, um, the progress that I've made as a performer, as a superstar, and ultimately as a top guy. But man, yeah, I envision, greatness. That's me and Paul have said this before. This is a chapter of our careers that we want to go down in history for. This is something we want to elevate not only our game, but the game in general of what we do within sports entertainment, and storytelling and the performances within the ring, to capture our audience. So for me, I knew there were so many different tools that I have that need to be utilized and sharpened, and have to get better. So for me, it was just mainly having the mindset of just elevating myself and my performance, and which in turn, hopefully everybody around me will do the same.
I've heard you say that this is the best work of your career. Is this also the most fun that you've had as a wrestler as well?
I think so. I mean, man, without all the very harsh critics and the cynical fans that we can have, the portion of them at least. I've always had fun in my career, and that's something Michael Hayes, which maybe it's just coming from a free bird, and this is free bird advice, but he's always told me to just have fun in the moment, and as a former professional wrestler and sports entertainer performer himself, he knows that road and how quickly it can go, and how you can be in the afterlife of your in-ring career, and someone like him who's still around it, still producing, still within the company, has been able to see that not only in his own career, but a lot of superstars that he's worked with before me. So for me, I've always had a good time. I've always enjoyed myself. I've always, focused in on the opportunity, try to utilize, and maximize those opportunities. But I wasn't scared to have a good time and celebrate them too. But right now, I definitely would say just everything within this business, when it comes down to clocking in and doing all the work necessary, um, plugging into these shows and trying to give our audience just the very best product possible. I've never had more fun than what I'm doing now.
You mentioned those cynical fans, and that's always been sort of like this cloud hanging over your career. They love you, they hate you, they feel like you don't deserve the spot, all that stuff. I'm not living it. I'm also the kind of guy, I'll get 99 positive comments on Twitter, one negative, and I'll harp on that one for 24 hours. You are living it. It feels like there are no cynics anymore. It feels like you are being praised as maybe the face of this business, the face of the company, of course. You're getting praised for your work with Paul, with John. Like, I don't feel that hatred. I don't feel that cynicism. Do you feel it now?
No, but I think I never really allowed myself to feel it in the past either. There might be some times here and there, some hiccups down, that happen, down the road. But for the most part, man, I've always just been a positive person. I've always tried to look at, the glass is half full opposed to the other side of it. And for me, um, it's never been, a rain cloud. I wear this tan for a reason because I feel like the sun out, it's always out for me. And, and I've said this and, this relates more, to the charitable side of things. And it hadn't necessarily been within what I've displayed on SmackDowns. But man, I've always said, if I wake up, it's a good day. Like, I can handle the rest from there. Just let me wake up and let me handle this business and then go about my day. And I will somehow make it right no matter what. So I've always looked at, this career to have the health, especially everything that I've been through, to relate to all those who have been in a struggle like that. It's a good day just to be healthy, to be able to be physical, to be an athlete, to be in that ring, to perform. I mean, at the end of the day, I earn my living and provide for my family by professional wrestling. You know what I mean? Like to be able to physically go out there and produce an art form that my family's partook for generations, and to be a part of that group, and to carry on that tradition. Every day is a good day.
Have you always had that mindset, or does that come after you go through the health issues that you've been through over the past few years?
Well, it wasn't even because, what was shared, a few years ago, that was the relapse. So, I mean, this was a mindset that happened when I was 21, 22 years old. So I've always been very grateful and a very positive person. But I do think when you go through, deep adversity, big struggles, and you have to get through those roadblocks, I think anytime you get onto the brighter side of a struggle or, an obstacle, it definitely gives you, that hindsight to be able to use that experience, and it gives you a little more clarity on how you should probably act or how you should feel about life. And with that being said, still learning, still trying to figure it out at 36, still trying to get better, in every regard.
Your family's lineage in this business, well documented. We know about your father and your siblings and your cousins and all that. And you mentioned Michael Hayes, and I know you're very close to him, and I know that he's someone that you really wanted to work with very closely, especially in this return and whatnot. And I'm wondering if, because the legends who work backstage, because the people who run WWE have been there for so long, because they know your family, because they know who your father is, and because they've worked with your family for all these years, did you feel like even through the ups and downs, there was this, I don't know, this feeling that they had to protect you, that they weren't going to let you fail because you're not just some guy who came through, the performance center and, you fail, all right, you'll go on and do something else. Like, your family means something to this business, and they didn't want you to fail. They couldn't let you fail. They were going to protect you and have your back. A guy like Michael Hayes, as you said, has been through everything. Did you feel like they almost were, getting your back throughout the process because of who you are and who your family is, who your father is?
No. I would definitely say so. My dad, day one, he told me, when you get near this ring, it's about money. I mean, it's about selling tickets, and I mean, we want to entertain, but at the end of the day, we don't let them in for free. You know, we're not doing this, for our health. So I think if I didn't have the potential, I didn't have, all the things that I've been equipped with, or that I've learned, and that I've been able to showcase, I don't think there would have been, and which I don't even like the word protection. So you've been talking to Cena lately? What's this all about, huh? But no, I think I bring a very legitimate skill set, and everything else within entertainment that we were looking for, and I was that guy. And it just takes time nowadays. I mean, since we're talking about Cena, is a great example of that. Once you saw superstars like Rock and Steve, who they just they burst out the cannon, and it was like, in 2 or 3 years, it was kind of done. You know what I mean? That they didn't have that longevity, so to speak, that a John Cena had. They can't say they went for 15 years and carried the company for over a decade. And I think once John set that standard, it kind of became a template that we're all kind of working around now, working within. So no, I think, man, I had the goods, and they knew it. I knew it. It just took a little bit of time to get there.
You're going to show up all full of yourself like you normally do and put on a hell of a show. I'm just going to hang in there for 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to take your title. I'm going to jump the barricade, and I'm going to run out of Allegiant Stadium as fast as I can. I may even blow you a kiss goodbye. This is what you don't get, young man. It's inevitable. No one can protect you anymore. At SummerSlam, the champ is gone. 1, 2, 3.
How would you describe your relationship with John?
Well, it's not good right now. He's John Cena, man. Like, I believe I said it last night. I've said it to him before, and I'll say it again. I respect the man. Like, I respect that man. He's done, and we just talked about the template that he created of being a WWE superstar, right? For like 15, 20 years now, 2 decades worth of time. You got to respect that grind, that hustle, that dedication, that discipline to be able to go in and do this, because this is a 52-week-a-year gig. This isn't like 16 weeks and then let's go to do a month on vacation and then we'll start training again. But you got to do all that all year long. So I got the greatest respect in the world for him. And not only that, he's transitioned. He's made the transition, which is great. And not, it's not like he's just squeaking by. The man is in blockbuster hits that are, I mean, he topped Rock in this past week in the #1 movie, right? So for me, what a stepping stone. You can't even call that a stepping stone. I mean, when I get to say that I stacked 2 legends and pinned them in the main event of WrestleMania, and then a few months later, I beat John Cena in SummerSlam. That's what it's all about. So, I mean, great respect for the man, but I'm better than him. When it comes down to it, I'm better than him in this game. He has tools, like we talked about, that you can't deny. But when it comes down to all the boxes that you have to check to be a greatest of all time, I'm currently checking, all those boxes and more. And there's nothing that he can do about it. It's just, there's levels to it. And within this game, and I haven't even tapped in to the outside, the other genres of entertainment that I just dabbled, just played around in the movie game. There's so much more for me to do. But I respect that man, but I'm going to whoop that man. It's just the way it goes. You've been in the fight game. You know how it goes, man. That's just what it is.
Sometimes they don't respect each other. So, it is good to hear that you do. Is that a goal of yours to go to the movie, world once, you've done what you want to accomplish in WWE?
I mean, I like creative. I like being creative. I like being a part of the creation process. I like, you know, being able to climb into the skin of a different character. I like to entertain. I like to perform. So I know, and I'm not going to go down that road and say this is my only home and I'm going to do this until I can't do. I'm a father of five. I know I need to, keep some miles on these wheels and not ride it till the wheels fall off. But I also want to be smart and be able to, entertain fans and inspire people and create great content without falling down. So eventually, yeah, that time's going to come. If my number and my card is called and it works out, it works out. But there's no pressure, man. I've done everything I've really set out to do in entertainment. Now every day is just a blessing to continue to push it forward and continue to like personally move the goalposts and have bigger dreams and bigger aspirations and bigger goals. But yeah, I mean, when I'm satisfied, when I've filled my tank within sports entertainment, I don't see why I wouldn't want to try that.
When you entered the company main roster with the Shield, did he help you out? Was he one of those guys that showed you the way? Is he a locker room guy, or did he keep to himself? John Cena, that is.
There's times I think where yes, as the Shield, he helped us out, but once for sure when it was time to break up and go our separate ways, there might be a little nugget of advice here or there, but I've really prided myself on doing it kind of my way, and not, for the most part, not trying to fall into that peer pressure or that expectation of being the next John Cena. Although that comparison is always going to be there just due to the sequence of events, right, in careers. So for me, I've just always really prided myself on learning it the way I want to learn it, learn this performance and these nuances and these details and these different skill sets within the performing arts my way and on my timing. So no, I mean, I wouldn't say I by any means was mentored like some other talents were by other, veteran guys. I've always relied heavily on my family and my instincts to know the way and what I should be doing.
He said on Friday that you almost ruined Seth Rollins and that you ran Dean Ambrose out of WWE. What did he mean by that?
You tell me. That's what I'm saying. There's levels to this game, man. Like, John has skills, right? He's charismatic. He's a great public speaker. He has good energy. He knows how to, he really understands crowd reaction. And it's like, when you don't have good stuff to say, let's just pander to the crowd. And that's what he did. So, the whole world, and they may not be as informed and it's like a professional watching another professional. And I could see that he had nothing for me. So he's just doing that spin game. And then, they're counting to three with me. Let's say that over. Let's marketing, strategy. Let's condition them and do it 14 times. But when it comes down to it, there was nothing, that he said. There was no connection within that. So I have no clue. Dean obviously is doing what Dean's doing, and I think he's happy over there at AEW. But if we want to be, if he could have been the man here, he would have been the man here, but he couldn't be the man because I'm the man here. Seth Rollins is going through the same thing, but he's doing great. And I can say that as someone who's still I'm doing better than him. I'm the Universal Champion. I'm the head of the table of the WWE. It's all mine. This is my company. But he's still a great talent who's doing some of the best work of his career. So I really don't know, man. Like I said, it was quite the experience to see him out there. It was just words, just a whole bunch of energetic words.
Do you still talk to Dean at all?
It's been a while, man. I think the last time probably was around WrestleMania. So the last time we spoke, that's probably when me and Dean spoke. But it's been a minute, and I need to reach out to him and then give him the congrats on the baby and everything. But man, it's really been, with everything going on, and within the pandemic and everything that comes along with that, and then being back on the road, being back in front of live audiences, dealing with John Cena. It's been a crazy past, like it's been a crazy quarter for sure.
The promos have been fantastic between you and John leading up to this match, and of course, the other one that generated a huge reaction was the same old missionary position, all that stuff people keep talking about. It's crazy. If this was the late 90s, that stuff was being said 15 times every Raw or SmackDown. Right?
It's nothing.
It's amazing how things have gone. But I do think there is something to that. And I'm wondering, you've enjoyed so much success over the past year after turning heel, after freshening up the character, if you will. He never did that. He never turned heel. He is wearing the same stuff that he wore 10 years ago. Do you think that was a mistake to never at least try it once in his career?
I can't speak on another man's path because, it worked out the way it worked out. And when we kind of went through and as I was affirming him earlier, we can, side seat drive his career and his life all we want. But at the end of the day, he's done pretty good, and he's still out there hustling and doing his thing. So I think every man has their own path and their own decisions influence that path, obviously. So no, I think he did it his way, and that's the only way it should have. That's the only way it should have happened.
Ultimately, whose decision was it for you to turn heel?
Well, mine. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? So as far as whose idea was it, it was a collective idea. Something that had to be pitched and chewed on and thought about thoroughly. But ultimately, it was my decision to do it.
Does this happen before you kind of officially team up with Paul Heyman, or does the idea come first and then he's added to the idea? How does the union come about? Like, was it the chicken or the egg that came first there?
Well, I mean, I would say Paul was a huge part of that chewing process, that brainstorming process, and that's also his decision too. We're two guys who already did a lot in their careers, already had a lot on the line. So it was a decision for both of us, you know what I mean? Because he was coming off a hell of a run with Brock. So he was putting quite a bit of equity on the line to continue, to kind of flow into this run as well. So, that decision had to be made before we started getting into it and trying to flesh this thing out.
Do you think this year is as great for you without him by your side?
No, I mean, he's special counsel, man. It's I've thoroughly enjoyed having him by my side, and I've sung his praises many times. He just knows how to make an elite performer very comfortable within their skin and how to hyper focus in on the task at hand, and put that performance first above all else. And that's what he does to make that comfort and to be able to have that tunnel vision for that night, that day, that week, whatever it takes to get to that point. So man, yeah, Paul, he's been a pleasure to work with, not only, on a professional level, but personally just being around him, talking to him, sharing stories with him, hearing, the history with my family, all his knowledge of the business, of WWE, all the way back to Vince Sr. It's really been an education being around him. I wouldn't want to go back. And if my day does come to where I leave for a while and then I come back, guess who's going to be with me? Paul Heyman.
That relationship, it dates back to when? Like, even before you guys were on screen together, was he helping you out? I know he helps a lot of people and he gives all kinds of advice. Or is this a relatively new relationship?
He helped from a distance. That kind of like John did too. I mean, and everybody for the most part, kind of just let me figure this thing out. I didn't have anybody just really trying to, elbow their way in to be in my circle. It was a process that I really was able to craft myself. And that's something I was told early on was be very, very specific with who you get advice from and don't make that circle too big. And I didn't want to get too many opinions. I didn't want too many, people at that table throwing ideas at me, because I wanted to be able to narrow in on what I wanted to do and what I was trying to figure out what to do or how to do it. But I also wanted to, be able to build the instincts and go through the process and have to do it myself as well, because I feel like that helps you a lot, down the road so much more if you're able to do these things on your own and figure things out for yourself. But Paul, I mean, he was the guy who brought the Shield in, right, to protect CM Punk's title reign. So there's always been great foreshadowing and just little Easter eggs along the way with us and Paul, with me and Paul. My history with Brock, obviously working with Paul through that. And then just his history with my family, man. I mean, I want to say he first met me when I was 3 or 4, at a show in like Dothan, Alabama, maybe Mobile, Alabama, somewhere in like Alabama. A Jew from New York and a 4-year-old Samoan meets in Alabama. That's like the beginning of a joke, right? So yeah, he's been around my family, my father, my uncle, the Usos' father, their uncles, my cousins, for a long time.
Are you the kind of person that actually goes back and watches? Like, will you go back and watch SmackDown from this past Friday? The reason I ask is you're in the zone, you're doing your thing. He does these little things, and kudos to the production team, the way they frame you guys on camera, his facial expressions, the way he does little things like handing you the mic, handing you the belt, the facial expressions, like it's really, it's masterful work. I mean, he's just unlike anyone. I'm biased. I love the guy. He's a tremendous guy. He's been a good friend to me over the years, but I am just so impressed with the little things that he does. Do you even notice those? Like, do you even have time to go back and watch that stuff, or is it just on to the next one?
I pick and choose kind of what I want to watch back, or sometimes I go off the mindset as I was out there. I know it happened. I felt it, especially in the scenario of having that live crowd back, because you feel that simultaneous that reaction right away, that interaction. But I would say I've gotten far more comfortable with, and it's more of like the back of my hand now. The instincts are they can take over at any time, for me to just stay fully in the zone of what I'm doing as Roman Reigns. So yeah, I mean, if there's something specifically I want to see back or I didn't necessarily like, I will study it for sure. But yeah, when it comes to me and Paul, all those things that, like I said before, man, it's these details. That's what makes you levels ahead of everybody. Anyway, you can go out there and, for wrestling terms, if we want to, you can be a big high spot the whole time, or you can worry about your transitional things, the nuances. What are the bridges that are going to get you from moment to moment? And that doesn't necessarily mean like moment, like SummerSlam to Rumble to it, like these moments that we're creating within the segments, or whatever your allotted time is, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. How do you create these moments? How do you take the audience on a ride to get to the next one without like losing them? But you know what I mean? Like you have to be able to pack them into this like entertainment van and keep them on the ride the whole time. And me and Paul are a firm believer in the devil is in the details, and that's what we try to do.
You're welcome, Tampa. He is closing in on 1 year as Universal Champion. It has been a year of complete dominance.
The music, the theme song has changed. How did that come about? That you changed the song, and all of a sudden it's like, every single headline is about the song. Everyone's trying to get it. How does that come about? Because you had the other song for so many years.
I wanted a new song. I said, hey, I want new music. This is a new, that we're in a whole new phase. We're trying to reach new levels. I don't want any, and whether we want to, look at it that way or not, there's always going to be that connection to the Shield. And for me, which I think, there's performers out there that can learn from this. Sometimes it's time to break off those training wheels and just fly solo and do your thing. And for me, as we were, presenting this new package, this new position, this new character, new performer all the way around, it's one of those things, a part of the presentation, and that's something that I've always wanted to do, and something that Paul and I have discussed over and over is how do we continue to make these moments? How do we continue to create the buzz to keep them talking? And it's not easy. You have to continually, be in your own head, game planning and constantly brainstorming on what should happen or where we should be working towards. But yeah, man, I wanted new music, so I got new music.
And I'm assuming you like it.
Oh yeah, I was heavily a part of that creative process.
You opened the door for me, so I'd be remiss if I don't ask, who needs to take off their training wheels, in your opinion? I value your opinion greatly. If you could offer some advice.
Well, and I think he's doing that now, but you can still see that crutch there every once in a while. Biggie is a guy, just a tremendous talent, tremendous athlete. But sometimes in this business, you gotta focus in on yourself to help others, and you gotta, that. For me, I was just telling my cousins this on the jet last night. I came in and I was one of the boys for a long time, and it was great. You know what I mean? That's why for a long time you heard me as the locker room leader. A lot of people would, reference that, and I still feel that way. But I, for me, it was about building that equity within the locker room, building that camaraderie, building that trust. But at the end of the day, like we talked about a little bit before, when it comes down to it, it's about this money and the way we feed everybody. This is a very real gimmick. This head of the table thing's for real. If everybody wants to make more money, if everybody wants to have, a better future and brighter opportunities, then I got to be the biggest star that I can be. So I think everybody's got to think like that. And yeah, there's that nice, where you can go back to the details and the storytelling, and there's a way to navigate that narrative and that creative. That at the end of the day, you got to be able to, fly solo. You got to be able to do your own thing. Triple H wouldn't be Triple H if he just stayed in DX the whole time. Dwayne wouldn't be Dwayne if he just kept doing that. We all have to step out on our own and be our own man. And I'm not singling out Biggie. I don't think we have, quite as many groups or factions as we once did. But Bobby Lashley's a great example. I mean, the Hurt Business that was a good group. You know what I mean? And it may have, broke up a little too early. I don't know. I wasn't a part of that process. But Bobby Lashley is a bigger star now. Whether they handled that whole, path to get there properly or maximize that, I don't know. That's not my I guess business, because I didn't make it my business. But I just still think Bobby Lashley is that WWE champion. When that spotlight's on him, he looks like more money than he does when he's surrounded by other guys.
Are there other guys who aren't maybe in the main event scene right now that are really impressing you, that you have your eye on, that could be a potential big match down the line, 6 months, 8 months? Is there someone that has really stepped their game up over the last year that has really, maybe in the back of your, corner of your eye, you're like, all right, that guy's doing something?
Man, and it's hard sometimes, and sometimes it's like, man, it feels like we have so much content space. We have multiple shows, multiple programs, multiple hours, and you want to get everybody their amount of time to shine, but then sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. But I really do firmly believe that we have an unbelievable roster that anybody could break out. Anybody could be, on their way. It takes that thing. And we all have to find that thing, for ourselves or within the creative process. Just got to happen. But I think there's so many guys. It's almost not right to just start naming out, because there's more than a handful of them that just need that thing, that time, that development. They're whether it's 10%, whatever that percentage is, they're just shy of it. But I mean, we threw him out there a few minutes ago. Big E has definitely connected and has been connected within the New Day, but even as a solo act, you can see it's there. It just needs that investment. We just got to nurture that thing. One guy, man, and I don't know how to get there other than me just smacking the out of him, but Sami Zayn is one of those guys where you can't. He's like your neighbor or something. He doesn't scream superstar, WWE superstar, but there's something, he has like an intangible there where you can't stop looking, and like even in real life, you want to converse with him. Like you want to have a quick little conversation, and he'll pop you real quick, and then say, all right, I got to go to a laugh. We'll go about my business now. See you later, Sammy. But he's one of those guys that are so talented that he, whatever it may be, he just needs a little more. Why, if you can get a Sami Zayn on TV more, I think that's a good thing.
Getting back to John, one thing that has been talked about a lot, the aforementioned CM Punk talked about it a lot as well, about these guys who would leave and come back and get the big spot, right? They get the main event of WrestleMania and then they leave and come back. How do you feel about that? You're a constant. He's been gone. He's coming back. Who knows if he sticks around past SummerSlam? Are you okay with that sort of thing, that sort of arrangement? The guys who over the last 2 decades or so have left and come back, while the guys like you are in Tulsa and Charlotte and God knows where tomorrow night.
I can see it from both perspectives, but I think you've said it before, the high tide raises all the boats, right? Everybody benefits. So I do think there's that strange threshold, but I think, man, those statements are coming from bitter people, who possibly thought they were better than they really were. When it comes down to it, CM Punk was not as good or as over as a John Cena. Wasn't as good or as over and moved the needle like The Rock. It was just what it was. From a full-time performer, I understand the frustration and wanting more. But like I said before, you got to take it. I'm a full-time performer. But I've done everything that needs to be done to stay in this position, to be in this position, to continue to make the opportunity for myself to be in a main event of SummerSlam against a John Cena. And if anybody ever comes along to try to push me out of that, scenario, I'm gonna fight like hell to keep, the ground that I've made. So it's one of those debatable, we can go back and forth, and we can change our perspective if you're one of those type of people who can see it in a different set of eyes. But I really think if more eyeballs are being brought to our product, and of course it depends on who it is, but a guy like a John Cena who's starring in multiple movies this summer, and when it comes down to it, earn the right, and he's at that portion of his career where he is a part-time performer, I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to capitalize on him being here and everything that he brings with that. And that's my goal. That's the whole gimmick to me. This is John Cena. Why wouldn't I want to be in the ring? Why wouldn't I want him to come to me? You know what I mean? This is the biggest movie star of the summer right now. Why wouldn't? And he came to me. He came to the head of the. He came to Roman Reigns. He wanted to be in the ring with me. So I'm not going to complain about that. But I think other people who think they should have more or be more and aren't willing to actually do it, they're gonna have a different explanation than what I just did.
In the world of MMA, boxing, this all makes sense. A guy in your position gets pay-per-view points, a big chunk of the pie, all that stuff. You would want a John Cena like star to come and fight you so that, you get a bigger pay-per-view bonus. Forgive me for prying, but does it work like that in your world? Like, will you get a piece of the pay-per-view on Saturday?
Oh, I make so much money. We don't want to talk about that. That's not
I was just-
compelling to me. They just get it. Yeah, we make all the money. We don't have to talk. We don't talk about points and all that. We don't need to talk numbers.
I find that to be
They know what
fascinating,
it
but
is.
I understand it's just a different business structure, and so I was curious. You would obviously be making a huge, portion of it all, and so I was curious if it was, a Conor McGregor fights on pay-per-view.
To your point right there. Like, you think Poirier's complaining about beating up McGregor all the time? Because it's great for him. Poirier is the guy who beats up Conor McGregor, like the most over MMA fighter now, like of all time. And Dustin Poirier is the one who's been smashing that fool. So, you don't complain about that. You capitalize on these opportunities. It's just business.
Favorite SummerSlam moment? I mean, can you even remember like SummerSlam 2017, or does it all kind of blend together?
Yeah, I mean, when I won the first Universal Championship from Brock, that was cool. Beating Randy Orton, I think that was like maybe 14. That was actually that was a big test for me as a solo guy, as a singles, especially to be in there with a veteran performer like Randy, someone who's been around, who's had a Hall of Fame career. That was a big test for me to get past, and I thought I passed that test and did very well. And if I wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't. It would have been a different road, that year especially. So yeah, that was a good learning point in my career for sure.
Better chance of happening first, you versus Brock or you versus Rock?
Man, I don't even know. It's hard to speak on Brock. Nobody knows what he's doing. So he's out there. Last I saw, he's like butchering cows with a Viking ponytail. So probably Rock at this point. Brock seems like he's out like getting his Viking on. So I don't know, man. I haven't heard anything about Brock in a long time. So I would just have to say Rock.
Which one interests you more?
I mean, they're both, it's almost like two of the best fruit possible, but they're just different fruit, right? Like they're just different performers and they're different style. It's just, they're apples and oranges, no preference. I mean, I probably Rock just because I haven't, outside of some interaction, I think like back in the Shield days, maybe, we've never had, and like at the Rumble back in 15, I want to say, we never had that proper, rivalry program face to face, those type of moments, singles match. So I would say just because there is a very deep history with Brock, Dwayne would probably be the preference right now.
Who does Paul choose if you go up against Brock? Whose side is he on?
He's special kind. He's his tribal chief.
Okay,
that's it. Yeah. Let me try to put wedges in now. Yeah, what the heck?
I mean, he's got the history with one guy, but he's doing big business now. I just wasn't sure where the allegiances lie.
That's the history. That's the past, man.
Okay.
I'm moving special kind. I'm moving him forward. Island of relevancy. He won't forget that.
Well, the present is SummerSlam 2021, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. BT Sport box office is where you can watch it. This man, Roman Reigns against John Cena, a dream match, one that we didn't think was coming, and then all of a sudden, the summer of Cena happened. By the way, I just want to say, I'm no lawyer, but I still think that contract thing is a little fugazi. I mean, I don't think you just take a contract and sign your name on it, and all of a sudden, just throw that out there if you want to check. That's how desperate that man was. He put his integrity up on the line. He completely threw out his morals to be in the ring with me. So there we go. It's a hot ticket to be one-on-one with the Universal Champ right now. Says a lot about him. Roman, thank you so much for the time. Congrats on all your success. Really appreciate this, and good luck on the 21st.
Thank you, Ariel. Appreciate you, man.